Hi there. This short input is designed to explain to mentors and professional tutors what one of the main academic assignments Sussex trainees actually do. This assignment that I'm going to talk about is called Applying Professional Knowledge, and the rationale behind this assignment is for trainees to know and realise that reflective teachers are researchers in their own classrooms. In simple terms, educational research is valuable because it's what good teachers do week in, week out in their classrooms. It's how they improve their practice, and the process helps them become increasingly reflective. What is the value of educational research? Well, here Stenhouse answers our question. He says, the purpose of educational research is for teachers to test out ideas against their own experience. It's important that teachers are open-minded, prepared to experiment, to reflect on what worked and what didn't, and to refine this accordingly. As I said earlier, this is actually what reflective teachers do. This, in a nutshell, is what your APK assignment is all about. This assignment works. We have been doing this at Sussex for way over 20 years, and it really does link to good teaching, to the teaching standards. It helps you become increasingly more reflective. So here's the brief. This is a 6,000 word assignment that is worth 30 master's level credits. Trainees will upload their assignment by 5 o'clock on the 3rd of March 2022, or preferably before. And the aim is for them to design and critically evaluate both the planning based on research literature and impact of a small unit of work, which is between 4 and 6 hours worth within their curriculum area. It's a written assignment and it should include appendices, which includes lesson plans, evaluations, resources, maybe student examples of student work. But it's important to note that it's not all about the lesson plans and the resources. It is actually an academic piece. It's all about how well the trainees review the research literature, how clear that their rationale is for their 4 to 6 lessons, and how critically do they reflect upon their lessons once they've taught them. So this is an assignment that is really about academic writing. The purpose of this assignment is to develop strategies for effective short and medium term curriculum planning and to strengthen the process of evaluation and reflection. And as such, this assignment offers trainees the explicit opportunity to make progress towards a number of teaching and core content framework standards. Clearly, this is about teaching standard 2 because they want their lessons to promote good progress and outcomes for pupils. It's also about teaching standard 3 because teaching standard 3 asks trainees to demonstrate a critical understanding of developments in the subject and curriculum area and to promote the value of scholarship. TS4 asks trainees to plan and then reflect systematically on the effectiveness of lessons and approaches to teaching, and CCF Standard 4 also stresses the importance of planning and teaching well-structured lessons. Teaching Standard 5 and CCF Standard 5 require students or trainees to adapt their teaching to meet the needs of all learners, and Teaching Standard 6 and CCF Standard 6 require trainees to make accurate and productive use of assessment. How does the assignment work? Well, essentially, this is what trainees are going to be doing. They're going to follow a reflective cycle that any good teacher goes through. So first of all, they'll identify a focused area that they want to work on or research in their own classroom. Then, obviously, they will read what other people have said about this particular area and what other teachers have done to address the particular issue they want to solve, and they'll read the scholarship critically, and from the reading they will decide exactly what pedagogical focus they want to focus their lessons on, and this becomes their rationale for their unit of work. They then go through the stage of, we might call it practical application, where they plan, teach and deliver their 4 to 6 hours worth of lessons. And we really want to see the ideas that they've taken from the scholarship within their lessons. And then, importantly, it's the critical reflection stage. Trainees will consider how well did the lessons go, what worked, what ideas didn't work, and really here we're looking for, did the pupils make progress in their knowledge and in their thinking? And also, it's important that trainees link back to the scholarship and explain what they were trying to do and see if it worked in their own context. It's okay for the lessons not to go well for them, because obviously context is all and contexts are different. And then finally, in their conclusions, they kind of make recommendations about what they would do differently if they were to do this again. What we are looking for our trainees to do here in this assignment are a number of things. It's really important for them to link the theory that they've read about and that they've learnt about at university with the practice in their own classrooms. So they need to think about what they have read. So what have they read about a particular pedagogical area like assessment for learning, or what have they read about curriculum, or what have they read about cognitive science and its impact in the classroom, or what have they read about conceptual thinking or dialogic talk. Okay, and they need to think, well, what scholarship has influenced them here? What did the scholarship say, and do they trust it, and how has what they read influenced their practice? We also want them to think about how the theory that they're looking at is exemplified, and how well did it go in their own teaching. And it's okay for things not to work as well as what they read about, because context is different and the challenges are different. So what we want them to think about is, did the ideas they tried out agree or disagree with the findings in the scholarship that they read? And did it agree or disagree for all pupils or just for small groups of pupils? How might you help your trainee with their APK then? Well, in a number of ways really. You could guide them to choose a class that will work hard for them, and one in which they should be able to try out the new ideas that they are researching. You can help them to choose a substantive topic with this class that they can teach their ideas to. And we're really probably thinking that they should be teaching their APK lessons in December or early January. So it's worth looking at the curriculum that you have to see what is going to be taught then. You can help them think of a pedagogic focus that's sensible and useful in helping the pupils to make progress in your subject. Remember, not only do they need to read the research literature about their chosen pedagogic focus, they also need to be able to evaluate the impact of their particular focus. And this makes up quite a lot of the assignment. So whatever they focus on, there needs to be enough for them to be able to evaluate the impact. You could and should, I hope, guide them to choose a subject-specific focus if you can. After all, our trainees are training to be subject teachers. And if you know, it is good for them to focus on an area where there is enough scholarship or literature for them to get their teeth into and read and critically evaluate. It might be worth remembering that scholarship is quite a broad definition. It's made up of policy documents like the National Curriculum and GCSE specs and exams. It's also made up of articles that might appear in online journals or in the TES. It's made up of conference papers. Scholarship is made up of teacher research articles that often appear in subject association journals. It's also made up of things like blogs, and depending on the subject, it might be made up of more robust empirical research data as well. It's also worth remembering that some of this scholarship is more, shall we say, robust, authentic, reliable, trustworthy than other pieces. So opinion pieces in the TES or Schools Week don't stand up as much as perhaps some research that has hard data behind it, where hundreds of pupils have been interviewed or pupil work has been assessed across a number of students. And another way that you might help your trainee teachers here is maybe you could join them and read around the area that they are focusing on together. But that's of course only if you have the interest or the time. So what should they focus on then? Well, it's really important that your trainees speak to their curriculum tutors for more guidance in their own subject, and as well as obviously they're going to speak to you. I don't know if it's helpful, but here are some titles from previous APK assignments. So we might focus in English on dialogic talk, or we might focus in history on inquiry questions and the concept of consequences. We might discuss the use of authentic text in MFL, or assessment for learning techniques to increase motivation and engagement in drama. So really it is up to the trainees, but I do think that it's important that you guide them to choose something that is going to be worthwhile and is going to be able to be evaluated in the classroom. This final slide shows you what this assignment actually looks like. So as you can see, there's an introduction, then the next 2,500 words or so should focus on the literature that the trainees have read, and this is their literature review. This should then lead them into explaining how the literature or scholarship has actually influenced their unit of work. They then only include a grid showing their unit. They don't explain their planning in lots of detail. They just give a grid, an overview grid, which explains their unit of work to the marker, and then they go on to evaluate their practice in about 2,000 words, and they consider the impact of their choices and how well it went for the different learners in their classroom. It's important here that they not only impact their own practice, but they return to the literature that they were reading and the ideas that they read about. They then finish with a very short conclusion, which they should here explain how their knowledge has grown and the implications that their work here is having on their future practice, and they might recommend how, if they were to teach this unit again, they might do things differently. And finally, there should be a separate set of appendices to help the marker really understand the trainees' planning and curriculum choice making. So, thanks so much for listening. If you got this far, I hope all of this information helps you, and we're really pleased that you can help your trainees and to support them to fuse theory with practice via this assignment and support them to become reflective practitioners.